Oh, that's because they like these stock photo companies. They sell the images, and like this is supposed to be a sample. And if you want the real thing without this text on it, you have to pay for their subscription service.
I've seen those kinds of books up in DC.
Huh.
Like the Bible Museum.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, like yeah, a lot of ancient Bibles in particular, they were very well decorated, right? They're all by hand, very expensive pages. Hey folks, it is September the 24th, and today we're going to talk about chapters 28 and 29 in our book that have to do with some of the, broadly speaking, the tenets of Islam, and then the expansion of the first Muslim empire. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. Giving the kids in class some time to go over it real quick before we begin. So if you haven't read it, go ahead and read it. All right, Robert. Absolutely. All right, you got 1 minute left. Are you done, Kel?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Not very long. Hey, folks. At this time, I'm going to give you a couple minutes to talk with your neighbors about the following terms up on the board. So we have the 5 pillars: worship, morals, jihad, dini, and conquest. So discuss with one another what those things are. It's going to be a discussion of terms today.
The first one we did,
There's like a quote thing. I
love it. I messed up. I was like, this way, $6. But exactly, like when you do the lights and all the lights and so
Awesome.
it's like a great opening when you do this, I still can't do it.
How did I go on to the last year?
Exactly.
Contagious.
You can't like just like do something. I don't know. Oh, black. I have
Hey, all right, kids, let's go ahead and begin with the discussion up here. So, yeah, the images I have. All right, so yeah, this is a Quran, which we know is the holy book of Islam. It's a very sacred text to these people. And so, yeah, remember, Islam means those who submit or to submit, and Muslims are people who have submitted. Of course, it's submit to the will of God. The religion has very kind of like authoritarian view, whereas like its view of God is different from that of like say Christianity and Judaism. It's more legalistic. Like God is all powerful and so far above humans that there's not really a personal relationship. Muslims believe that the Quran is the way that it was from the time of Muhammad. However, archaeological evidence has shown that early Qurans actually had a lot less books than the current ones. So historians believe that books were added to it later on throughout time. In fact, one of the first rulers right after Muhammad actually said that a couple of books, like kind of like the chapters, were actually eaten by a goat. So we don't know what was in them.
Is that why they say goats are evil?
No, I think it like the goat thing has a play on like where like it's, I'm not sure why I actually kind of think of it. I know that well
was hungry.
they were sacred to pagans, right? To like wilderness goats and rams. So that's probably something to do with it.
Like the pagan gods didn't want us to see this, so they sent a goat to devour it. But I came along and slayed the fish.
Well, I gotta admit, there's something about goat eyes that bother me. I can't stand the way like they are like the craziest freakish thing. And when I was a little boy, like when I was 4, my grandparents, their neighbors had goats. They used to come up and knock me over, and I'd just waddle along and I'd knock me over. So, I don't like goats very much. Can't eat them very well. They taste nasty. I mean, all right, moving on.
I just sacrificed an olive. They sacrificed two. And now I
Hello. Yeah, so the 5 pillars of Islam, if you remember, one is you have a statement of faith. You also have, you're supposed to try to make a pilgrimage to Mecca. You're supposed to give alms to the poor. You know, it's like charity. Supposed to pray 5 times a day. You're supposed to fast during their holy month, the month of Ramadan. So, at least during daylight hours. When the sun goes down, usually people have a pretty big meal. So this is similar to other Judeo-Christian, like Abrahamic religions, who also often observe pilgrimages and fasting and charity and statements of faith and prayer. But it's very structured, right? In that way. Another one. So the empire is going to expand pretty quickly. So you see that orange part around Medina. That's what happened during the life of Muhammad, so up till his death. Then following right afterwards, you're going to see this light orange here. It's going to spread out very quickly over Egypt, over Syria, over Israel. It's going to move up here into modern-day Iraq, and then it's going to move on into Persia and Afghanistan, and it's going to move through northern Africa, and that's when you have the Moors here, who are going to be rather new converts to Islam, are going to invade Spain. And remember, they're going to be held back by Charles Martel, the granddaddy to Charlemagne, and stop over here at Battle of Poitiers. It's going to be a little bit later. So, yeah, so this is all like very, very fast. Like basically within the span of just 100 years, you're going to have this empire And it's not just being an empire, it's going to be a religiously based empire. So it's going to have ideology, it's going to have a form of government and all that. So we're going to talk about that later. So this is going to be, it's going to be jolting for, say, like the Eastern European Empire and those barbaric kingdoms that were set up by like the Goths in North Africa and the Visigoths in Spain. Going to be totally knocked over. A lot of people, it's true when your book says that a lot of people who were not of a monotheistic religion quickly converted because they were looked upon as idolaters, and that was not very good back then. So whereas people who were Christians and Jews were allowed to practice their faith, provided they paid a tax and followed certain laws. The laws are going to get more strenuous later on. Alondra, can you put that up for a minute? Alondra, can you put that up for a minute? Yeah, sorry, wrong thing. So they're going to get more strenuous over time. Once we get to the time of Ottomans, Christians are going to have things like they're going to have to give up their firstborn children as slaves to the Sultan. They're going to have to pay taxes. They won't be able to repair churches. So a lot of the churches are going to have like holes in the ceiling and stuff like that. They're going to have to wear certain dress codes. They're going to be, in some ways, that are going to be similar to what Jewish people had to wear before the Nazis started putting them in concentration camps. So it's going to start out where it's going to be conquest. Then it's going to be you can live with us with taxation, but eventually, when the hands of the government change, the rules get more constricted. All right, let's move on from there. All right, so what did we say the 5 pillars were again? So to be a good Muslim, you're supposed to do these 5 things.
You're supposed to.
Guidelines?
Yeah, the guideline.
Shahada.
I don't want that. I don't know what that means. Tell me in English.
Shahada,
Can you tell me in English what that means?
where they have to like recite a line.
That's right. So they first must recite a statement of faith. So this is like a very short creed. So kind of like the ancient Christians had, but this is a short one, and it's kind of like, I guess you could say it's like their version of baptism, really, I guess. Second,
They pray 5 times a day.
yep, pray 5 times a day, and in what direction?
Dawn, afternoon, or sunset.
But what direction? They prayed towards the city.
Oh, Mecca.
Yeah, they had to pray towards Mecca. So if you're in this part of the world, you got to pray that way. If you're in this part of the world, you got to pray that way, so on and so forth. So they have to. You're supposed to know where Mecca is according to your direction. So pray 5 times a day. And remember, this is kind of like what the Christian monks would do. They'd have the office of the hours towards. So once again, you see these things that are similar to religions that already existed, right? Mecca. All right, neat. What's number 3? Third.
They have to have like a strict fast.
Yeah, so fast during the month of Ramadan. And it's a lunar month, so it's not according to our calendar. So if you ever watch the news and you're like, it's Ramadan, well, that means you got to fill out things like fasting and pilgrimages and stuff like that for Islamic people. What's fasting mean?
To go without food.
Yeah, food, a lot of pleasures. Stuff like that. It's supposed to be a time of like prayerful reflection. And a lot of religions do that, like Hinduism, Buddhism, a lot of Christianity. Not all Christians, but a lot. So it's one of those things you find throughout the world. What's 4th?
Gift to the poor.
Yeah, 4th. So Charity to the poor, right? Give them some money. To the poor. And last,
Try to go to Mecca.
yeah, pilgrimage to Mecca. If you can do it, you're supposed to do it. And this, again, is something you find throughout religions throughout the world. Again, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, a lot of religions do pilgrimage. So, cool stuff. Cool stuff. So, what about worship? What day of the week is kind of like the Sabbath day for people of Islam?
Friday.
Friday. Yeah, right. So Friday's their holy day. And who's the religious leaders?
There's no religious leader. They all have to say on priests.
But they got a teacher, right? A prayer leader. What's that called?
Imam?
Yeah, an imam. Led prayer. So imams led prayer. Anything else about their worship? It's pretty much kind of centered about the individual reading the Quran, interpreting it the best they can.
They don't work.
Yeah, so no work on Friday? Oh. Why do you do that? Yeah,
Well, they did, they just didn't do it during that
not
time.
during church service, yeah. So
Well,
you
then
couldn't
after
you couldn't like go to church, like, okay, I got some paperwork to do. So working on your laptop, which I haven't seen that yet. I've seen some things at church. I'm like, what are you doing there? But I haven't seen that one. All right, so judge not right. All right, morals. So what's some morality that has to do with Islam?
They can't gamble, eat pork, or drink wine.
Yeah, so gambling, no tasty bacon, alcohol.
No, it's wine.
Well, it extends all alcohol, right? So no alcohol. There are some things that are permitted, like polygamy. Like if they can afford it, they can have more than one wife.
They're also not allowed to make any.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to say can. No idols or images. Yeah. They are allowed to own slaves, but they're not allowed to own Muslim slaves. So what would often happen is that people would become a slave and they would go to a place and they would convert. Now they have to be free. So it was a pretty common practice. This would happen also, not very often, but the early Middle Ages, there was still some slavery, but it was the same for Christians. They weren't allowed to have Christians for slaves. So people would often convert. Oh, I'm a Christian now. So then they're like, oh gosh, okay, I'll start paying you. So yeah, but also there's other things like, once again, it's supposed to be charitable to the poor. And it's supposed to be merciful to like people who merciful to people who what's the word I'm looking for? Surrender in battle, things like that, right? So it's supposed to abstain from cruelty and stuff. So that's good. I like that. I don't want to have cruel people around us. All right. So what's a jihad?
What's the what?
A jihad.
Holy war.
Yeah, it means struggle. Yeah. So holy struggle. And the thing is, it can be war, like a religious war. Or it could also be personal. Your book didn't say this. Like a personal, like religious struggle, like persecution, something like that. Such as religious persecution. So like most Muslims today, if they're having a jihad, it's not necessarily like war. It's usually like personal struggle, like they're like struggling against temptation and stuff like that, So yeah, it's not necessarily like what might be popping up in your head. All right. So who were the Demi? They were the people of.
People of the book.
Yeah, people of the book. So people of the book. And who on earth is that?
The conquered people.
Yeah.
Jews and Christians.
Yeah, Jews and Christians. And when they said the book, they were talking about the Bible. So they recognized Jews and Christians as kind of like their cousins, but they believed Jews and Christians were their cousins who got it wrong. All right, we got it right. You guys got it wrong. And so they just, and of course, allowed to worship, but taxed, and they had their rights restricted. They weren't allowed to be in the government, stuff like that. But the good thing is that eventually they're going to start seeing periods of peace, so things get a little better, even though they'll be second-class citizens. Now, the conquest. So we'll just get the general gist of this one. So what generally happens?
They tried to take over Constantinople.
Yeah. So
But Leo III threw down Greek fire
yeah. So
and they retreated.
yeah. Nobody wants to be the first crispy guy on the wall. So yeah, conquest. So they're going to take North Africa, Persia, and Spain. Attempt, and they're going to get it one day, to get Constantinople but driven back. And so, if you remember, we talked about Constantinople was a city built with the best Roman engineering that Rome had at the beginning, or at the end of its empire. Emperor Constantine the Great went through a lot of, he had a lot of engineers, things like that, using the best technology at the time to make super thick, giant walls. They picked the best, most defensible piece of land, basically in the empire. Its harbors were well protected. Yeah, they had technological advantages like Greek fire. But that's going to change one day when the Ottomans are going to get massive cannons, and walls don't hold up to cannons. They just don't do it. It's especially brick walls. Earthen walls can, but so it's going to last for a while, but not forever. All right, so let me take a picture of this and post it for our onliners. So that's for today. We're going to go over next couple of chapters tomorrow. Next week, we are going to have a vocabulary quiz. I'm not sure which chapters yet, but it's going to be on Thursday. I'll let you know on Monday. It's going to be through Quizlet. So it's already online if you want to go ahead and start looking at your current chapters so you can make sure you're ready. See, where's Google Drive? All right, folks, so that's going to do it for our lecture today. See you tomorrow.